Dr. June Park rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the clock on his office wall. It was almost midnight. Again. The small lamp on his desk was the only light in the room. Papers filled with equations covered every flat surface. This was normal for him. He often lost track of time when he was working on a problem. June taught math at Seoul National University. But his real passion was his research. He had a special way of looking at math problems. While other mathematicians followed strict rules, June trusted his instincts. He could see patterns that others missed. His mind made connections that seemed impossible to his colleagues. Just one more try, he muttered to himself. He had been working on the same problem for weeks. It involved quantum probability, a field where normal rules didn't always apply. He tapped his pencil on the desk, thinking. His computer made a soft sound. A new email. June normally ignored emails at this hour, but he welcomed the distraction. He clicked on it. The subject line read, "Invitation to Interspecies Academic Conference." "What kind of joke is this?" June said out loud. He assumed it was his graduate students playing a prank. They often teased him about being too serious. The email included strange symbols and coordinates for a meeting place, the main quad of the university at 10 a.m. tomorrow. June smiled and closed the email. He would tell his students tomorrow that their joke was too obvious. He returned to his equations, working until the early morning hours before finally going home for a few hours of sleep. The next day was sunny and warm. June walked across campus carrying his worn leather bag filled with research papers. Students sat on the grass talking and studying. It was a normal day until it wasn't. A shadow passed over the quad. People looked up, pointing and shouting. June stopped walking and stared at the sky. A silver object was descending slowly toward the open area. It was shaped like a teardrop and gleamed in the sunlight. It made no sound as it settled gently on the grass. Students backed away. Some took videos with their phones. Campus security arrived looking confused and unprepared. June stood still, his mind racing. The joke email. The coordinates. This couldn't be happening. A seam appeared in the silver object. It widened into a doorway. A ramp extended to the ground. 3 figures emerged. They were clearly not human. The first was tall and thin, with skin so transparent that June could see pulsing organs beneath it. The second was round and floated above the ground rather than walking. The third looked somewhat reptilian with green scales and vertical pupils. The crowd was silent. No one ran. They were frozen in shock. The reptilian being approached June directly as if it knew exactly who he was. "Dr. June Park," it said in perfect Korean. "I am Thun, diplomatic liaison for the Galactic Academic Coalition. I believe you received our invitation." June nodded slowly, unable to find words. "Excellent," Thun continued. "Please meet my colleagues. This is Valzar." The transparent being nodded. "And this is Nepri." The floating round creature bobbed in the air. "We apologize for the public nature of this meeting," Thun said. "But our research suggested that a private approach might be misinterpreted as threatening." June finally found his voice. "The email. That was real?" "Indeed," said Thun. "We have been observing your species for quite some time. Your planet has finally reached the technological threshold that qualifies for introduction to the galactic community." By now, campus security had formed a loose ring around them. People were calling the authorities. Phones were pointed at them from every direction. "I believe we should continue this conversation inside our shuttle," Thun suggested. "Your planet's authorities will soon arrive, and while first contact protocols are important, we came specifically for you, Dr. Park." "For me? Why?" "Your mathematical insights. They are unique. We have been monitoring your research. The Galactic Academic Coalition believes you may offer valuable perspectives." June looked at the shuttle, then back at the university building where his small office waited with its familiar papers and problems. "What exactly do you want from me?" he asked. Thun's expression was hard to read on his reptilian face. "We wish to invite you to attend a conference, to meet with other mathematical minds from across the galaxy. To share knowledge. For how long? Earth time? Perhaps 2 weeks. We can return you to this exact moment if you wish, though most visitors prefer to experience the natural flow of time." June thought about his classes, his research, his small apartment with the leaky faucet he kept meaning to fix. "I would need to bring my work." My notes, all can be arranged, Thune said. We have prepared accommodations suitable for human physiology. You will not be the only human in attendance. This caught June's attention. There are other humans there? Being invited as we speak. Specialists in related fields. Sirens sounded in the distance. Thune looked in their direction. We must make a decision quickly, Dr. Park. Your government agencies will complicate matters. June took a deep breath. All his life he had searched for answers, for patterns, for understanding. Here was an opportunity that no mathematician in human history had ever had. I'll go, he said. But I want your word that I can return whenever I choose. Of course, Thune said. The coalition operates on principles of academic freedom and voluntary exchange. You are not our prisoner, Dr. Park. You are our honored guest. June followed the three aliens up the ramp. Inside, the shuttle was larger than it appeared from outside. The walls seemed to shift subtly, as if the interior space wasn't entirely stable. There were no visible controls, just smooth surfaces that glowed softly. Please secure yourself, Nepri said, speaking for the first time. Its voice was musical, with tones that overlapped. It gestured to a seat that looked roughly human-shaped. June sat down. The seat adjusted to his body perfectly. A gentle force pressed against him from all sides, holding him in place without restraints. Your planet has been classified as a death world, Thune explained as the shuttle rose silently into the air. This designation refers to planets with conditions that would be fatal to most sentient species. Earth is dangerous? June asked, surprised. Extremely, Valzar said. Its voice was a whisper. Your gravity alone would crush many species. Your atmosphere contains corrosive elements. Your temperature variations are severe, and the radiation from your sun would kill most life forms without protection. We evolved here, June said. It's normal to us. Precisely, Thune said. And that is part of why your species is of interest. Deathworld species develop unique adaptations, physical and mental. Your mathematics reflects this. You see patterns differently because your ancestors had to recognize threats quickly or die. The shuttle had now left Earth's atmosphere. Through a transparent section of wall, June could see his blue planet below. It was both terrifying and beautiful. The Coalition has been monitoring several promising humans, Nepri said. Your approach to quantum probability equations caught our attention. You make intuitive leaps that our best mathematicians find as surprising. June thought about his work. He had always trusted his instincts, even when he couldn't immediately prove why a certain approach would work. It had frustrated his professors but had led to breakthroughs. Where exactly are we going? He asked. The Coalition headquarters, Thune said. It orbits a binary star system approximately 173 light-years from Earth. How long will it take to get there? The three aliens made sounds that June realized was laughter. We are already entering the transit phase, Valzar said. Observe. The view changed. Stars blurred. There was a sensation of movement without motion that made June's stomach turn. Then suddenly they were looking at a different star system. Two suns, one blue, one orange, orbited each other. Around them was a massive ring-shaped structure that gleamed in the dual sunlight. That's impossible, June whispered. We can't have traveled that distance so quickly. The mathematics that allow this transit would interest you greatly, Thune said. Perhaps during your stay you will learn some of our equations as well. As they approached the massive ring, June could see that it was a structure of incredible complexity. Sections rotated at different speeds. Lights moved along its surface like blood in veins. The Coalition headquarters houses scholars from over 3,000 worlds, Nepri explained. Each section is adapted to different biological needs. Your quarters will be in the small Deathworld section. Small? Few species evolve in conditions as harsh as Earth's. Those that do are highly valued for their unique perspectives. The shuttle docked with the station. June felt a change in the gravity as they entered. It was slightly stronger than Earth's. We've adjusted your section to match Earth conditions as closely as possible, Thune said. Though we had to compromise on some details. You may find the atmosphere slightly thin, the gravity a bit strong. They led him through corridors where beings of all shapes and sizes moved about. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Others slithered along the ceiling. Many stopped to stare at June. Your physical appearance is causing interest, Valzar noted. Many have never seen a human before. June was too overwhelmed to feel self-conscious. Everything was strange. The architecture had few straight lines. The lighting came from everywhere and nowhere. and there was a constant background hum that he felt more than heard. They arrived at a door that opened into a small apartment. June woke up confused. For a moment he thought he was in his apartment in Seoul. Then he saw the strange ceiling that glowed with soft light. The events of yesterday came rushing back. He was on a space station, with aliens. He got up and found that someone had left clothes for him. Simple black pants and a blue shirt made of a material he didn't recognize. It felt like cotton but seemed to adjust to his body temperature. In what looked like a bathroom, he found familiar items arranged neatly. They had thought of everything. A gentle sound came from the door. June opened it to find Nepri floating in the hallway. "Good morning, Dr. Park," the round alien said. "Did you rest well?" "Yes, thank you," June replied, still feeling strange about talking to an alien. "What happens now?" "First, nutrition," Nepri said. "Then you will meet the other humans. After that, orientation to the Coalition headquarters." June followed Nepri through winding corridors. Other beings moved past them, some nodding to Nepri but most watching June with obvious curiosity. He felt like an animal in a zoo. They entered a large room with many different eating areas. Some had tables and chairs like on Earth. Others had pools of bubbling liquid or strange machines that dispensed food directly into containers attached to aliens' bodies. "The human section is there," Nepri pointed. "Your nutritional needs have been studied extensively." In a corner with normal-looking tables sat a woman. She was Asian, perhaps in her late 30s, with short black hair. She looked up as June approached. "Another human," she said in Korean. "I was beginning to think I was the only one." June sat across from her. "Dr. June Park, I'm from Seoul National University." "Dr. Hana Kim," she replied. "Daejeon Institute for Advanced Mathematics." "They grabbed you too, huh?" Invited, June corrected. "But yes, yesterday." A machine on the table lit up. A menu appeared with pictures of food. June touched an image of what looked like eggs and toast. The machine hummed, and a minute later a panel opened with his breakfast. "The food is surprisingly good," Hana said, eating something that looked like rice porridge. "They've studied us well." "Do you know why we're here?" June asked. Hana shook her head. "Not exactly. They keep talking about some problem they want us to look at. I work on topological anomalies, basically the mathematics of weird shapes and spaces." "What about you?" "Quantum probability, finding patterns in randomness. So we're both theoretical mathematicians," Hana said thoughtfully. "I wonder what problem needs both our specialties." Nepri hovered nearby, waiting patiently. When they finished eating, the alien led them to a large room filled with screens and holographic displays. About 20 aliens of different species worked at various stations. They all stopped to stare when the humans entered. "Welcome to the Orientation Center," a familiar voice said. Thune approached them, accompanied by another human, a man who appeared to be in his 50s with gray at his temples. "This is Dr. Tae Sung," Thune introduced him. "He arrived yesterday from Busan University's physics department." Tae nodded to them. "Nice to meet fellow Koreans. Makes this whole thing slightly less bizarre. Now that you're all here, we can begin the formal orientation," Thune said. "Please sit." They sat in chairs that adjusted to their bodies. A large screen showed images of different star systems and alien species. The Galactic Academic Coalition was formed 12,000 Earth years ago, Thune explained. It began with 3 species discovering each other and sharing knowledge. Now we have members from over 3,000 worlds. The images showed the Coalition's growth, the construction of the ring station, and meetings between different aliens. "Our mission is to gather and share knowledge across species, to solve problems that single civilizations cannot, and to prevent knowledge from being lost when civilizations decline." "Do civilizations decline often?" Hana asked. "It is the natural cycle," Nepri said. "Even now, 12 member species are in decline phases, but their knowledge lives on in the Coalition." The screen changed to show Earth. "Your planet has been under observation since your species first used tools," Thune continued. "You were classified as a Deathworld species, evolved in conditions that would kill most sentient beings." Images appeared showing Earth's gravity, weather, radiation levels, and other features compared to other worlds. Earth was in the extreme range for almost everything. "Most intelligent life evolves on worlds with mild conditions," Tae said, clearly having learned this already. "Low gravity, stable climate, weak radiation, few predators. Their bodies are fragile by our standards." "Yes," Thune confirmed. Your bodies are incredibly durable. You can survive temperature ranges that would kill most species. Your bones can withstand your planet's crushing gravity. Your skin blocks radiation that would destroy most life forms. But it's not just your bodies that are different, Nipri added. Your minds evolve differently too. On mild worlds, problems come slowly. Solutions can take time. On Earth, threats are immediate. You must see patterns quickly or die. June thought about this. His mathematical intuition, seeing solutions before he could prove them. Was this a product of evolving on a death world? Is that why we're here? He asked. Because our brains work differently? The aliens exchanged looks. Partly, Thune said. But there is a specific problem we believe you might help with. But first, let us show you the headquarters. They spent the next few hours touring the massive station. It housed research facilities, living quarters for thousands of species, and enormous libraries of knowledge. Some areas they couldn't enter because the environments were toxic to humans, filled with methane or chlorine or kept at temperatures that would freeze them instantly. The scholars here study everything. Tay explained to the others as they walked. Art, science, history, mathematics. Some have been working on the same problems for hundreds of years. Hundreds? Hannah asked. Many species live longer than humans, Tay replied. Thune is over 300 Earth years old. Some live for thousands of years. As they walked through a large garden area with plants from hundreds of worlds, June noticed something strange. Other aliens moved away from them, watching nervously. They're afraid of us, he said quietly. Hannah nodded. I noticed that too. They keep their distance. It is not personal, Nipri assured them, floating nearby. But you must understand, your Deathworld adaptations make you potentially dangerous. Your muscles are incredibly strong in our standard gravity. Your bones can shatter our exoskeletons. Your speed and reflexes are alarming to most species. We're not going to hurt anyone, June said, feeling uncomfortable. They know this intellectually, Thune said. But instincts are powerful. To them you appear as apex predators. They continued the tour, now noticing how other beings reacted to them. It was subtle. A widening of space around them, conversations that paused as they passed, appendages that moved to protective positions. By midday, they reached a restricted area. Guards of various species stood at a large doorway. They carried devices that might have been weapons. This is the central repository of unsolved problems, Thune announced. The most challenging puzzles from across the galaxy are studied here. The doors opened to reveal a vast circular chamber. In the center floated a large holographic display, a swirling mass of symbols and shapes that constantly shifted and changed. Around it, dozens of aliens worked at stations or floated on platforms observing the display from different angles. The Mithridates paradox, Nipri said with a tone of reverence, discovered in ruins that predate all known civilizations, the greatest unsolved problem in the galaxy. The three humans stared at the swirling pattern. It was beautiful and somehow disturbing, like it shouldn't be able to exist in three-dimensional space. A tall alien with multiple eye stalks approached them. Its body was transparent and seemed to be made of thick gel. Tentacles extended from its lower half, manipulating tools and interfaces without touching them. Grand Scholar Zealith, Thune said with a small bow. May I present our human guests, Dr. June Park, Dr. Hana Kim, and Dr. Tae Sung. The gelatinous being studied them with its eye stalks. Welcome to the repository, it said, its voice somehow both deep and high at the same time. I understand your species has unique mathematical perspectives. We're still learning what that means, Hana said carefully. I have led the study of the paradox for 82 cycles, Zealith said proudly. I have decoded 3 of the 7 layers. No one has progressed further. June looked at the swirling display again. He felt something strange. A sense of familiarity, like seeing a word on the tip of your tongue. What exactly is the paradox? He asked. It appears to be a mathematical representation of reality itself, Zealith explained. But it contains contradictions that cannot be resolved. Elements that cannot exist together yet do. It defies our understanding of mathematics. June walked closer to the display. As he did, the nearest aliens moved away, giving him space. He barely noticed, focused on the patterns within patterns. It reminds me of fractal mathematics, he said softly, but more complex. Aspects of it do resemble your fractal concepts, Thune agreed. Others suggest quantum entanglement, topological impossibilities, and concepts we have no terms for. Hana had taken out a small notebook and was sketching rapidly. "There's something about the way it moves," she said. "The rotation isn't random. You will have time to study it properly," Nepri assured them. "For now, this is merely an introduction." The reception was held in a large hall with a view of the binary stars. The two suns were setting, one orange and one blue, creating strange purple shadows. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the room. Some floated in bubbling tanks. Others hung from the ceiling. Many gathered in small groups talking in languages that sounded like music or clicks or low rumbles. June, Hana, and Tai stayed close together. They felt safer as a group. Servers moved through the crowd carrying trays of food and drinks. One approached the humans with glasses of clear liquid. "Water," the server explained. "Safe for human consumption." June took a glass and sipped it. It tasted normal, perhaps a bit sweet. "I can't believe we're really here," Hana said quietly. "Yesterday I was working in my office and now I'm at a party with aliens." "Yesterday I was teaching a class on dimensional physics," Tay said with a smile. "My students will think I've disappeared. They told me they could return us to the exact moment we left," June said. "Is that possible?" Tay shrugged. "Their understanding of physics is far beyond ours. Maybe they can manipulate time as easily as they travel between stars." Grand Scholar Zelith approached them, its gelatinous body glowing softly in the dim light. Several smaller aliens followed, carrying devices and tablets. "Our human guests," Zelith said. "I hope you are enjoying the reception." "It's fascinating," Hana replied politely. "Thank you for including us." "I am curious." Zelith's eye stalks moved independently, examining each human in turn. "What were your first impressions of the paradox?" The humans exchanged glances. June spoke first. "It reminded me of work I've done with fractal mathematics and quantum probability. There seem to be patterns within patterns." "Interesting." Zelith's body pulsed slightly. "And you, Dr. Kim?" "The way it rotates suggests a multidimensional structure being projected into three-dimensional space," Hana said. "In my field, we see similar effects when modeling topological anomalies." "And Dr. Sung?" Tay hesitated. "It made me think of some theoretical models of universe formation, the moment when physical laws first stabilized." Zelith's followers were recording everything they said. The Grand Scholar's eye stalks quivered with what might have been excitement. "Remarkable," it said. "3 different perspectives, yet each potentially valuable. This is why we invited species from different evolutionary backgrounds. Fresh viewpoints can reveal new approaches." A small insect-like alien approached and chittered something to Zelith. "I must attend to other guests," the Grand Scholar said. "We will speak more tomorrow when you begin your orientation to the Paradox Study Team." After Zelith left, the humans relaxed slightly. "Did you notice?" Tay asked quietly. "They're recording everything we say about the paradox." "They must be desperate for new ideas if they brought us all this way," Hana said. "Or they're testing us," June suggested. "Seeing if Deathworlders really think differently." They mingled with other aliens, most of whom were scholars from different fields. The humans learned about star mapping, xenobiology, and theoretical physics beyond anything taught on Earth. Despite their caution, they enjoyed the conversations. It was every scientist's dream to learn from advanced civilizations. As the reception wound down, they returned to the human quarters. June's room was the largest, so they gathered there. Tay checked the walls and corners. "Looking for listening devices?" Hana asked with a small smile. "Just being careful," Tay replied. "I doubt they'd spy on us, but they're very interested in how we think." They sat around a small table. Each took out notes they had made about the paradox. "I only saw it briefly, but something about it seemed familiar," June said. "Like mathematics I've worked with, but more complex." "Same here." Hana spread out her sketches. "Look at this rotation pattern. It reminds me of models I created for multidimensional topology. And these symbols," Tay pointed to his notes. "They're similar to equations we use to describe quantum states." They compared their impressions, finding surprising overlaps. Despite their different specialties, they had noticed many of the same patterns. Why would aliens need help from humans? Hana wondered. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. Technology doesn't always equal insight, Tay said. Think about what they told us. Most intelligent species evolve on safe worlds. They have time to think, to develop technology slowly. While we evolved on a death world, June continued the thought, where seeing patterns quickly meant survival. Exactly. Tay nodded. Humans are good at making intuitive leaps. We see connections that might take others years of careful study. So they brought us here because we're impatient? Hana asked. Because we think differently, June corrected. Because we evolved to find solutions quickly in dangerous situations. They talked late into the night, sharing ideas and theories about the paradox. When they finally separated to sleep, each felt a growing excitement. Tomorrow they would see the enigma again, this time with permission to study it more closely. The next morning after breakfast, they were led back to the central chamber. It was busier now, with dozens of scholars working at stations around the holographic display. Zelith was floating on a platform near the top of the paradox, its tentacles manipulating controls. You will observe today, Thune explained, leading them to a small platform with seats designed for humans. Watch how the teams work. Learn the tools they use to analyze the paradox. The platform rose up, giving them a view of the entire chamber. Hana took out her notebook immediately. June and Tay watched the aliens work, trying to understand their methods. Hours passed. They observed different teams focus on different aspects of the paradox. Some studied individual symbols. Others analyzed movement patterns. A few worked on translations of ancient texts found with the paradox. They're all working separately, June noticed. Each team focuses on one small part. Specialized research teams, Hana said. Standard academic approach. But they're missing connections between the parts, Tay added. They're so focused on details that they might miss the bigger picture. At midday, they were given a break. As they ate lunch in a small room adjacent to the main chamber, Nipri joined them. Do you have questions? The round alien asked, floating beside their table. How was the paradox discovered? Hana asked. It was found in ruins on a dead world, Nepri explained. A civilization that disappeared 50,000 years ago left it behind. The hologram technology still functioned when we found it. So it's not just a mathematical problem, Tay said. It's an artifact, correct. We believe it represents something the ancient civilization observed or created, but its purpose remains unknown. Has anyone tried treating it as a unified system? June asked. Instead of breaking it into parts? Nepri's body pulsed, and what they had learned was surprise. The complexity makes that approach difficult. The 7 layers contain too many variables to process simultaneously. After lunch, they returned to their observation platform. But now they watched with new understanding. The aliens' approach was methodical, careful, and very specialized. Teams worked on tiny sections of the paradox, rarely communicating with other teams. Late in the afternoon, Grand Scholar Zilith invited them to a closer viewing platform. From here, they could see individual symbols and movements clearly. The hologram was even more beautiful up close, swirling patterns of light that seemed to move both randomly and purposefully at the same time. My team has made the most progress, Zelith said proudly. We have decoded 3 layers, observe. Zelith's tentacles manipulated controls. Certain symbols in the hologram glowed brighter than others. This section represents gravitational equations. This one describes quantum field effects. And this layer models dimensional boundaries. The humans nodded politely, but each was thinking the same thing. Zilith was missing connections between those systems. How long have you been studying this specific section? Hana asked, pointing to a swirling pattern in the center. That is the most complex part, Zelith replied. I have devoted 22 years to it alone. Progress is slow but steady. 22 years on one section, Tay whispered to June when Zelith moved away. No wonder they haven't solved it. As the day ended, they were escorted back to their quarters. The 3 met again in June's room. I saw something today, June said immediately, when Zelith showed us the decoded layers. They're not separate systems, they're the same system viewed from different angles. Yes, Hana slapped the table. I noticed that too. The rotation creates the illusion of separate layers. It's a unified model, Tay agreed. But they keep trying to solve each piece independently. They stayed up late again, sketching and writing equations. Each brought their specialty to the problem, but they worked together, finding connections that crossed their fields. On Earth, we study physics, mathematics, and topology as separate disciplines, Tay said. But in reality, they're all describing the same universe from different perspectives. The aliens do the same thing, but more extremely, Hana added. Each team is so specialized that they don't see the connections. We need more time with the paradox, June said. not just observing from a distance. The next morning, they asked Thune if they could approach the hologram directly. That is not standard procedure for new observers, Thune said, hesitating. The calibration of the hologram is very precise. We understand, June said. Morning came too quickly. The three humans had slept only a few hours after working through most of the night. They met for breakfast, their eyes tired but minds alert with new ideas. I think we're close to something important, June said quietly as they ate. The patterns I saw yesterday match theories I've been working on for years. Same here, Hana nodded. What we call contradictions in mathematics are often just limitations in our understanding, or limitations in how many dimensions we can perceive. Tay added. They noticed the alien scholars watching them from across the dining area. Word had spread about their unusual approach to the paradox. Some aliens seemed curious, others doubtful, and a few appeared concerned. Thune approached their table. Grand Scholar Zelith has requested your presence in the main chamber earlier than scheduled. Your observations yesterday have created interest. They followed Thune through corridors that were busier than before. News traveled fast on the station. Aliens of various species nodded or gestured to them as they passed. Their status had changed from curiosities to potential collaborators. The main chamber was packed. Scholars from many disciplines had gathered to watch the humans approach the paradox again. Zelith floated near the hologram, tentacles moving nervously. Our human guests have requested more direct observation time, Zelith announced to the crowd. Their perspective as Deathworld beings may offer new insights. Murmurs spread through the audience. June heard translated fragments. Unlikely. Too soon. Interesting approach. Waste of time. Before we begin, Zelith continued, I must insist on proper protocols. The paradox is extremely valuable and delicate. Direct manipulation is not permitted for new observers. We understand, June said. We only wish to observe from different angles. Very well. You may approach. The crowd parted as the three humans walked to the center of the chamber. The holographic paradox floated before them, its swirling patterns more familiar now after their studies. What exactly are we looking for? Hana whispered. Connections between the layers, June replied. Patterns that repeat across systems. And dimensional markers, Tay added. Signs that the model extends beyond 3 dimensions. They circled the hologram slowly, each taking notes. The chamber was silent except for the soft hum of recording devices. Every alien was watching, waiting to see what the Deathworlders would do. June stopped suddenly. There, he pointed to a swirling section near the bottom of the hologram. That pattern repeats in the upper section but rotated. Hana moved to his side. You're right, and it connects to this sequence here. She pointed to another area. And that sequence appears in all 7 layers, Tay realized, walking around to the other side. It's a common foundation. They continued finding connections, patterns that repeated across what the aliens had classified as separate systems. With each discovery, their excitement grew. The aliens watched in silence, some moving closer to see what the humans were pointing at. The problem isn't that the paradox contains contradictions, June said, loud enough for others to hear. The problem is that we're seeing a multidimensional object in 3 dimensions. Like trying to understand a cube from its shadow, Hana added. Zelith floated closer. Explain. June took a deep breath. The 7 layers aren't separate systems. They're the same system viewed from different dimensional perspectives. The contradictions occur at the points where dimensions intersect. Zelith's eye stalks quivered. This contradicts established research. With respect, Grand Scholar, Tay said, established research has not solved the paradox in 3,000 years. The chamber went completely silent. No one challenged a Grand Scholar so directly. After a long moment, Zelith's body changed color slightly. Continue your explanation. Encouraged, June pointed to specific patterns in the hologram. These symbols appear contradictory because they represent the same object existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Impossible, an alien scholar called out. An object cannot exist in multiple states. In quantum physics it can, Tay countered. On Earth we've proven that particles can exist in multiple states until observed. And in topology, Hana added, we've modeled objects that change properties when viewed from different dimensional perspectives. Zelith's tentacles moved rapidly, manipulating controls. Show me these connections you claim to see. June pointed to specific patterns. This symbol in layer 1 appears to contradict this symbol in layer 3. But if you rotate the model like this, he gestured to show the rotation he meant. To everyone's surprise, Zilith made the hologram rotate according to June's suggestion. The pattern shifted, flowed, and suddenly aligned in a new configuration. Remarkable, Zilith whispered. This alignment was not in our records. Encouraged, the humans continued pointing out connections. With each suggestion, Zilith adjusted the hologram, revealing new alignments and patterns that no one had seen before. The crowd of scholars grew larger. Some brought their own recording devices. Others called colleagues to join them. The excitement in the chamber was palpable. After an hour of this, Zilith raised a tentacle for silence. Your observations are unexpected, but they do not solve the paradox. They merely suggest a new approach. We believe we can do more than suggest, June said boldly. With your permission, we would like to try a complete realignment of the model. Murmurs spread through the crowd. What the humans were proposing would challenge decades of established research. Zilith's body changed colors several times as it considered. Finally, it said, "Explain your proposed method first." June looked at his colleagues. They nodded encouragement. The paradox appears paradoxical because it's being viewed as separate systems, he explained. We propose treating it as a unified system that exists across multiple dimensions. The contradiction points are actually connection points, Hannah added. Where the system transitions from one dimensional state to another. If we realign the model to show these connections, Tay continued, the paradoxes should resolve themselves. Zilith's eye stalks moved independently, examining each human in turn. This is unprecedented, but the coalition values new perspectives. It paused. You may attempt your realignment, but I must insist on safeguards. The chamber erupted in excited conversation. Scholars debated the humans' approach, some supporting it, others dismissing it as naive. But all were curious to see what would happen. Technicians set up a separate control station for the humans. It would allow them to suggest changes to the hologram without directly altering the original configuration. Zilith would control which changes were implemented. This approach is too radical, a tall, spindly alien complained loudly. They have observed the paradox for mere hours. We have studied it for generations. Yet we have not solved it, another scholar countered. Perhaps radical approaches are needed. As the debate continued, the three humans huddled around their control station, planning their approach. We need to start with the central pattern, June suggested, the one that appears in all 7 layers. Agreed, Tay nodded. It's the foundation of the whole system. And then we align the dimensional transition points, Hannah added. The places where the contradictions appear. They worked quickly, mapping out their approach. Deathworld evolution had given them not just physical advantages, but mental ones too. The ability to think fast under pressure, to see patterns in chaos, to make intuitive leaps without waiting for complete data. When they were ready, June looked up at Zilith. We would like to begin. The chamber fell silent again. Zilith floated down to hover near the humans. Proceed, but be aware that you are challenging 3,000 years of research. June nodded. We understand. He entered the first commands into their control station. On the main hologram, nothing happened immediately. Then slowly, the central pattern began to rotate. As it did, other patterns began to shift in response. Hannah entered the next sequence, focusing on a section that appeared contradictory. The hologram shifted again, patterns flowing into new configurations. Tay added his adjustments, targeting the dimensional transition points they had identified. The hologram's movements became more complex, more fluid. The aliens watched in silence, many recording everything. Some moved closer to see the details. Others backed away as if afraid of what might happen. The humans worked quickly, building on each other's adjustments. They didn't need to speak much. Each understood what the others were doing. It was like a dance, each person adding their own moves to create a unified performance. After 20 minutes of adjustments, something unexpected happened. The hologram's colors changed. New patterns emerged that hadn't been visible before. The swirling movements became more harmonious, less chaotic. What's happening? Zilith demanded, tentacles quivering. The system is resolving itself, June explained, not looking up from his work. The contradictions were never contradictions. They were connections waiting to be properly aligned. The work continued. As the humans made more adjustments, the hologram's transformation accelerated. The 7 layers that had been studied separately for millennia began to merge, forming a unified structure of incredible complexity and beauty. Gasps spread through the crowd of alien scholars. What they were seeing challenged everything they knew about the paradox. Some began taking furious notes. Others stood in stunned silence. News spread quickly through the massive space station. 3 humans, Deathworlders who had been on the station for less than 3 days, had solved the Mithridates paradox. Scholars who had dedicated centuries to the problem rushed to the central chamber to see for themselves. The room became so crowded that station security had to limit entry. June, Hana, and Tae found themselves at the center of a scientific storm. Alien researchers surrounded them, asking questions, recording their answers, studying their methods. The 3 humans tried to explain their approach, how they had seen connections across dimensional boundaries, how they had treated the paradox as a unified system rather than separate layers. "We didn't really solve it in minutes," Hana explained to one group of scholars. "We built on all the work done before us. We just looked at it differently." "But that difference changed everything," an insect-like alien replied, its voice translated through their devices. 3,000 years of study, and no one saw what you saw immediately." Grand Scholar Zelith had been examining the transformed hologram for hours. Its gelatinous body had changed to a deep blue color, a sign of intense concentration, they had learned. Finally, it called for attention. "The work of our human colleagues has revealed something extraordinary," Zelith announced to the packed chamber. "What we thought was a paradox was in fact a complete model of universal structure. The ancient civilization that created it understood reality in ways we have only begun to grasp." The crowd murmured excitedly. Zelith continued. "Preliminary analysis suggests this model shows connections between dimensions, the structure of space-time, and the underlying patterns of reality itself. It may be the most important scientific discovery in the history of the Coalition." Thune approached the humans who were tired but too excited to rest. "The Coalition Council has requested your presence," the reptilian alien said. "Your achievement has attracted attention at the highest levels. We're happy to help," June said. "But we're not sure we can explain everything about the model yet. We're still understanding it ourselves." "Understanding will come with time," Thune replied. "For now, the Council wishes to recognize your contribution." They were led to a part of the station they hadn't seen before. The corridors were wider, the lighting more formal. They entered a large circular room with a domed ceiling that showed a real-time view of space outside the station. The binary stars shone through the dome, casting orange and blue light across the room. Around a crescent-shaped table sat 9 aliens of different species. Some they recognized, representatives of the more common Coalition members. Others were unlike any beings they had seen before. One appeared to be made entirely of crystal. Another was a cloud of glowing particles contained in a transparent field. "The humans from Earth," announced a tall, elegant alien with silver skin. "I am High Counselor Varen. We welcome you to the council chamber." The 3 humans bowed slightly, following Thune's whispered instructions on proper protocol. "Your work on the Mithridates paradox is unprecedented," Varen continued. "In one session you achieved what generations of our finest scholars could not. We had the advantage of a fresh perspective," Tae said modestly. "And we built on the work already done." "True," said another counselor, a being with 4 arms and eyes that rotated independently. "But your perspective is precisely what interests us. You approach the problem differently because you evolved differently." "Deathworld adaptation," said the cloud of particles, its voice coming from a small device floating within it. "Their minds evolved for pattern recognition and rapid problem-solving. Survival traits." June felt uncomfortable with this analysis, like they were specimens being studied. "We're just mathematicians and scientists," he said. "We did what any human researchers would do, look for connections." "That is exactly the point," Varen replied. "What comes naturally to you is revolutionary to us. For millennia, we have approached problems methodically, carefully, breaking them into manageable parts. While effective for many purposes," added the crystalline being, its voice resonating like bells, "this approach failed with the paradox. Your integrative, intuitive method succeeded where our analytical method could not." The council explained that the solved model was already being studied by hundreds of scholars. Initial findings suggested it contained information about dimensional travel, energy generation, and cosmic structure that could advance coalition science by centuries. We wish to formalize a relationship with Earth, Farron announced, to invite more human scholars to join the coalition. The three humans exchanged surprised glances. This was far beyond their authority to negotiate. We're just individual researchers, Hannah said carefully. We can't speak for all of Earth. We understand, Farron nodded. But you can be the first of many bridges between our civilizations. Earth has been observed but not contacted, because your technology level didn't meet standard criteria for integration. But your cognitive approach clearly offers benefits that outweigh technological limitations. You want human thinking, Tay said, understanding. Not our technology. Precisely, the cloud of particles agreed. Your species evolved unique problem-solving abilities in your harsh environment. The coalition values diversity of thought above all else. The meeting continued for hours. The council explained their proposal. A small team would travel to Earth with the three humans. They would make careful, limited contact with scientific institutions. Selected human researchers would be invited to join coalition projects while coalition knowledge would be gradually shared with Earth. This must be handled delicately, Farron cautioned. Your species is still developing. Too much advanced knowledge too quickly could be disruptive. And there are concerns, added the four-armed counselor. Your species has a history of conflict. Some coalition members worry about introducing Deathworld species to galactic civilization. We're not just our evolutionary past, June argued. Humans have created art, music, literature. We value peace and cooperation. While also developing weapons of increasing destructiveness, the counselor countered. Both traits stem from your Deathworld evolution, creativity and aggression, curiosity and caution. But the potential benefits outweigh the risks, Farron said, ending the debate. The council has voted. Earth will be offered limited membership in the coalition, with a path to full integration over time. After the meeting, the humans returned to their quarters, overwhelmed by the implications. They had come to study a mathematical puzzle and ended up changing their planet's future. I can't believe this is happening, Hannah said as they sat together, trying to process everything. First contact was supposed to be about alien ships landing on the White House lawn, not three mathematicians solving a puzzle. I'm worried about how Earth will react, Tay admitted. People fear what they don't understand, and the coalition is very different from human society. But think of the benefits, June said. The knowledge sharing alone could solve so many of our problems: energy, medicine, climate change. If we handle it right, Hannah agreed. If we don't let fear guide us. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. They continued working with the transformed model, explaining their insights to coalition scholars. They helped prepare materials for the first official contact with Earth's scientific community. And they were celebrated throughout the station as the Deathworlders who solved the unsolvable. A week after their breakthrough, they stood in a smaller chamber with Thune, Nepri, and a team of coalition representatives selected for the Earth mission. The shuttle that would take them home was being prepared. Before we return, June said to Thune, there's something I've been wondering. Did you really invite us here just to observe the paradox? Or did you hope we would solve it? Thune's reptilian features formed what might have been a smile. Both. Zilith believed you should observe for years before contributing. Others thought your Deathworld perspective might offer immediate insights. I was optimistic. You took a chance on us, Hannah realized. The coalition advances through diversity of thought, Nepri said, floating nearby. Your species thinks differently because you evolved differently. We needed that difference. When they boarded the shuttle for the return journey, the three humans felt changed in ways they couldn't fully express. They had gone to the stars as curious scientists and were returning as representatives of their species, carriers of knowledge that would transform human understanding of the universe. The journey back to Earth took moments using the coalition's technology. The shuttle landed exactly where it had departed from, the main quad of Seoul National University. According to Thune, only 3 hours had passed on Earth, though they had been gone for more than a week by their own experience. As they prepared to disembark, June looked at his colleagues. Ready to change human history? Not really, Hannah admitted with a nervous smile. But I don't think we have a choice anymore. At least we'll face it together, Tay said. The three Deathworlders who shocked the galaxy. They stepped out into the sunlight where a crowd had gathered. University security, government officials who had responded to reports of the first landing, and curious students with phones recording everything. Behind them stood the coalition representatives, beings from across the galaxy coming to meet humanity officially for the first time.